There's a new one. It's a new day. Here we go.
The president of the United States is trying to cover the Epstein story. It's the double down right here on Truth Social.
Jesus.
A big post
That's a
saying
twit
that actually
longer.
it's the Democrats who wrote the Epstein files. This is just after Elon Musk, who worked with Trump for many months, said that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Obviously, we've already seen deflections from the president about Epstein, saying that it's a disgrace to talk about him.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? It just seems like a desecration.
But today, it goes a step further. Quick context. There's been a lot of infighting in the Republican Party over basically who's at fault for the giant botch of the Epstein file.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think there's any infighting at all. I think people are pretty unanimously against this. There's not a lot of infighting.
With the majority of Republicans not wanting to believe that Trump himself was against a full release, but rather that he was sort of tricked into not releasing the Epstein files by one of his lackeys. But today, Donald Trump came out and basically—
I don't see how that's better. Oh, no. No, he's not bad. He's just retarded. Oh, good.
He backed Pam Bondi, saying they're all going after Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Democrats who conned the world with the Russia hoax? They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton.
Why are we giving publicity? Well, focus on the we there. You've been the one saying this. You've been gassing this up forever. He's talking about this 10 years ago.
Steele dossier. Now, this is such a smokescreen and a deflection.
It's not even a smokescreen. It's like one of those like really like fucking off-brand like scuffed smoke bombs that like barely works, and then like someone's like trying to run away from behind it, but you can like very clearly see it's just like them running away. It's not even a smokescreen. It's just nothing. It's transparent. It's a sparkler.
A left versus right issue. Epstein never has been. It's the people versus the predators, not left versus right. The people versus the pedophiles, the people versus the people on planes.
It's crazy that people have actually tried to turn this into a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue at all. It has nothing to do with partisan politics. Everybody, I think that this is it's ironic because actually, Trump said he was going to, try to like unite the country. I think he did. Promises made, promises kept. Everybody is united against this.
Oh, left versus right here. In fact, some of the people who want this the most are people on the right, even on Truth Social.
Of course.
Obviously, a hugely Trump-favored place. Everybody is saying, no, this is unacceptable. You have to release the files. Later in the post, Trump also says that these are radical left-inspired documents and to not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. But actually, we all do care about it. You know who doesn't actually want this out? The elites. That's why they've never done it. That's why it was a compelling pitch when Donald Trump hinted to his base that maybe he was going to release the files. People largely didn't trust the job that Biden had done. That's why
he appointed people who explicitly said they would release the files. Like, let's not pussyfoot around with this at all. He 100% gassed this up as much as he could.
A compelling story. So the idea now that it was...
Don't you think Trump was on the list? Democrats would have used it during the election? I've said this 50 times, so I don't want to repeat it. I think there's a third party that has the full unredacted list, and the reason why they're not using it on each other is because it would be mutually assured destruction, and if part of the list gets leaked and it is redacted, then that third party will release the full list, and it will damage both of them. That's what I think is happening.
Biden and Obama, who invented the Epstein files, is absolutely preposterous. They don't want that out either. And maybe that's because, as a producer of 60 Minutes alleged, Ghislaine Maxwell implied that there were tapes on Trump and also tapes on Clinton. You know who else said it? Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, saying Epstein said, what I know about both candidates, the 2016 election would have to be canceled. So this whole idea...
That's crazy that all of these people know all of these names, but nobody actually gets named and no evidence actually manifests because of some abstraction of law that we... Like, if there's one thing that the Iraq War taught me, it's that every single law has an exception. You can't torture people. Well, you can't go and just invade a country for... but... Why is it that we have all of this Patriot Act stuff, and the one time that we need to use it for a good reason, it won't happen. I'm a little bit annoyed by that.
That this is a left or right thing. It's not. It's the elites. Anybody who was on that plane, anybody who was associated with Epstein, seen with Epstein, even if they did nothing wrong, they don't want that out. Everyone who wasn't seen with Epstein, wasn't on that plane, of course they all want the files. And what's interesting is obviously the Trump administration has sort of played footsie with this idea for a long time.
They haven't played footsie with it, bro. This was their shoes. They were running on this idea, literally. This was something that they put out there.
Base, they know this is a big issue. They had the influencers stand out there with a bunch of released material. But we also showed clips of Donald Trump implying that maybe Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew were doing bad things on the island.
Bill Clinton.
Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island.
That island was...
We need to get an apology to old Bill Clinton. Donald Trump dragging his name through the mud over nothing. Making up some bullshit about how Bill Clinton, our president, who had a surplus of the budget, how could somebody say that about innocent Bill Clinton? What the fuck, man? His pure name has now been sullied. Exactly. This is outrageous. He owes Bill Clinton an apology.
Really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew.
So consistently, Trump has hinted that maybe these guys were involved with Epstein. Maybe it was bad. But turns out all these guys knew each other and knew Epstein. We know this in part from a Piers Morgan.
Oh, wow. How fucking convenient.
An interview where he talks to a lady who went to a dinner party with Trump, Clinton, Epstein, and Prince Andrew.
Extraordinary.
Well, wait a minute. So can't they just find that out? I mean, there's got to be itinerary for this. Why is there never any... Like, I feel like if you're even if you're a retard, you could figure this out. When was this? Where was this? Where was the restaurant? Who was there? Is there a guest book? When would it happen? Does the group have a guest book? Does anybody remember there? Who did you have on staff that day? You can find all of these things out. But isn't it weird that none of these things are being investigated at all? Nothing's happening? That's so crazy.
Collection of very high-powered people. How did they all interact with Epstein? How did Trump, Clinton, and Prince Andrew interact with him?
Everyone was very, very pally with him.
Wow.
You know, it was like there was close bonds. You could see that.
So these guys knew each other, apparently had dinner parties together, all of them together.
Dinner.
Trump later accuses two of the guys of doing bad things. And then when we release the file...
So let me guess. You're at a table and one guy is convicted as like a fucking creep. The other two guys you say are creeps, but guys, no, I didn't know it. Look, bro, like that shit was, I didn't know any of this. Wow. Wow, bro. Like that. No, I didn't do that. It's not me.
Can we release the files? Well, no, actually, no, we can't do that. Nobody cares about that. The reason why seems obvious. Epstein knew Prince Andrew. Yes, he knew Bill Clinton. Yes, but he also knew Donald Trump. And recently, tapes were released of Epstein talking and calling Donald Trump his closest friend.
So how do you know this?
So it makes intuitive sense to distance yourself from files that may or may not have your name in it, and even distance yourself from the people involved. It's worth stating Trump actually denied knowing Prince Andrew.
So Epstein's files are a smoking gun because they don't want people to pay attention to Diddy's trial or Diddy's files. I'm sorry to say, but I don't really give a fuck what a bunch of like weird, creepy, like pedo actors in Hollywood do compared to heads of state and people that run worldwide militaries. Like, that's comparing a mountain to a molehill. Like, yeah, you're right. The Diddy stuff is really bad. But this is like the elite version of that.
I don't know Prince Andrew.
Of course, this was immediately debunked by photos showing the two together. And of course,
Why would you say this?
showing that they clearly knew each other as of 2000. Now, the reason you would deny knowing Prince Andrew, even though you did, is obvious. At the time, he was facing allegations related to Epstein.
He doesn't know him.
By the way, allegations that now are basically over. Prince Andrew is very happy about us dropping the Epstein probe. A source for The Sun said he's only been abroad once since the scandal erupted. Prince Andrew has always been very nervous about going abroad and always looking over his shoulder, as he should be, in my opinion. But now he's very happy because the guy who never met him but was photographed with him in 2000 just ended the investigation. Now, I have to say, Trump's been pretty consistent on the fact he has no interest in releasing the Epstein files in full. He said this multiple times. The reason most people have sort of a false memory of this, the reason it's sort of a Mandela effect that he campaigned on the idea of releasing the Epstein files, is because Fox News released a deceptively edited clip.
I don't think that's the reason. I see what he's saying, but I disagree with it. I think the reason why is because he filled his cabinet with people that explicitly said that they would release it entirely. And I think that the people that you run with as like saying this person is going to be my cabinet member for X, Y, or Z thing, and really it's X, Y, and Z thing in this circumstance, like Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all three of them, and Elon Musk, like all of these people, even if he didn't explicitly say it, every single other person that was on his team that he was co-signing their statements and then sponsoring them to be part of his leadership team all said it.
Where they cut out the part where
even J.D. Vance in that interview with Theo Von said release the list. Even he said it. That's the vice president.
Said, yeah, I'll probably release the Epstein files. And they cut out the part where then he backtracks on that completely.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
And that's the part most of us saw. Of course, later, people found out that the full clip showed him saying basically the opposite.
Yes, I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
We also have Bill O'Reilly.
That answer isn't even a bad answer. It's only a bad answer when you contextualize it with nothing got released, period. Of course, you don't want to put out a bunch of fake stuff that negatively affects people. Like, obviously, sure. Like, I mean, that's a reasonable, prudent thing to say. But the problem is the way that it was looked at, right? It's a terrible answer now. In retrospect, it's very bad.
On News Nation saying he just talked to Trump back on St. Patrick's Day, and Trump basically said the same thing.
He said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context.
Too bad. Yeah, that sucks. Also, by the way, this is immediately disproven by Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the presidency. And Jeffrey Epstein said Donald Trump was his best friend. So it's not even true to begin with. It's bullshit.
Context. So you can't do that.
So over and over, we've seen the same answer from the president. Not the fact that, oh, no, the Epstein files, it's a lefty conspiracy. No, actually, it's the worry that people in the files are going to have their lives destroyed by the files. That sounds a lot more like covering for the people in the files than it does covering the victims. We've heard
That's a very that's a really good point. I never thought about it from that perspective, but I think when you think about it that way, yeah, he's totally right about that. Yeah, he's absolutely he's going in and he's covering for them particularly. Exactly.
Patel and Pam Bondi talk about, we got to protect the victims.
Go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims.
We're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that back out there.
But when we actually hear the president talk about it, and the real reason, right, because he's ultimately the decision maker on whether this gets released, what the real reason is cited is not about victims.
And also, this is another thing, is that nobody can really, Pam Bondi, I think, is a retard for other reasons. But nobody, like Trump is the one making these calls. She's not making the calls. He says jump. She says how high. Like, it's not her, it's him.
It is about the people, the names in the thing. So I find it disgusting. They're using the victims of Epstein as a shield for the people who are actually in these files. Now, of course, who specifically is he worried about? Well, maybe it's his friends. Maybe it's people he has dinner parties with. And of course, maybe it's him, Donald Trump, that he's worried about. The journalist Michael Wolff actually quotes Steve Bannon as saying Jeffrey Epstein was really feared in 2016 for what he knew.
I was there, and it was that moment, and Bannon said to Epstein, and he said this in a good humor. He said during the campaign, it would be the 2016 campaign, you, meaning Jeffrey Epstein, were the only person I was afraid of.
So that is 3 independent sources. You've got the Ira.
Why would Steve Bannon say that? Why would he say that? Isn't that weird? What's going on about that?
Rosen quote, the Michael Wolff quote, and that Mark Epstein quote, all saying that there is some type of damaging information on Trump. 2 of those people specifically implying that it's also on Clinton as well. You also have the Elon Musk allegation from left.
I think that if Trump is implicated, Bill Clinton is probably also implicated. I would say the probability of that's like 80-90%. That's a pretty high probability situation there. You know what I mean? Pretty high one. Yeah, definitely. And Hillary? Right. Yeah, and why didn't she ever get put in jail? This is what always made me mad about Trump whenever he was first president. You said you were going to put Hillary Clinton in jail, and you didn't put her in jail. Why didn't you do that? What the fuck? What happened to lock her up? Or make a wall? Well, he made part of the wall, at least, right? Hillary didn't get anything.
Field, but he doesn't source anybody, so we won't count that. Either way, I must say, I don't know for sure if Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Donald Trump were heavily involved in anything nefarious or not. That is exactly why we should
Well, one thing we do know for sure is that they were all heavily involved with Jeffrey Epstein. That's one thing that we do know. So that's it's really, really close.
Demand that we open these files. But the possibility of both Democrats and Republicans being implicated in some of these files, whether they did it or not, or just knew him, may give a plausible reason for why the Epstein files have been heavily redacted this whole time. There are very powerful people involved. We've known that. The reason we've been given, of course, is that, we've got to protect the victims. The real reason behind this
bullshit. Bull motherfucking shit.
Scenes is really they're protecting the powerful people. Now, the most charitable interpretation is
they don't want to have people get their lives destroyed, but I don't understand the logic here because Bill Clinton and Donald Trump both were implicated with Epstein and neither of them had their lives destroyed. Elon Musk had photos with Ghislaine Maxwell and he didn't have his lives destroyed for that. There's plenty of people that had involved themselves or interacted with Jeffrey Epstein before. And it's not like they just had their life destroyed just by a connection with him. So that's it. So I don't even understand. I don't even understand this type of thinking. It's not even real.
Bill O'Reilly said it's because those people would have their lives ruined. They had nothing to do with Epstein, but we know some of them probably did. We know this from the Miami Herald because the FBI agents who searched Epstein's house found a cache of thick black binders all labeled with names that contained hundreds of naked or semi-naked photographs on CDs that Epstein stored in various places. The labels on the binders were redacted from photos because prosecutors said they were names of third parties who were not relevant to the case they are mounting against Ghislaine Maxwell.
This is, in my opinion, this is the emperor's new clothes. This is so obvious what's going on here. Binders, there's terabytes of data. Yeah, I have never seen any, honestly, this makes me really disappointed because I think these guys would know how to hide it better than this. What a bunch of fucking retards. Are you kidding me? You've got it in binders in your apartment? What are you, fucking retarded? Why would you do that? Arrogance? Yeah, exactly. How many of you guys know a friend that deals drugs maybe, or that does something like that, and eventually, you know, he used to use burners, he used to use other accounts, he used to trade in crypto, but then eventually he did it for long enough and he got confident enough, and then he just started giving people his actual fucking phone number. Yep, and then you get got, and then you have to take a vacation. They get lazy. Yep. Every time. Embarrassing.
So my question is, are those some of the third parties? Their names are on binders with a bunch of explicit photographs that Epstein was storing? That seems like something we should be investigating. Or what about the fact that since the FBI is saying there's no blackmail involved with Jeffrey Epstein, we investigate the Wall Street Journal report that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly tried to extort Bill Gates over an extramarital affair? Because I thought there was no...
Whoa. Wait a minute. Convicted sexual offender reportedly threatened to expose Gates' relationship with Russian bridge player. That's crazy. Wow.
Tried to extort Bill Gates over an extramarital affair, because I thought there was no blackmail involved. And my real plea to people is to not allow comments like this, these statements about partisan politics, to trick you into thinking this is some type of left versus right issue. That
it is partisan politics. It's the left-wing elites and the right-wing elites against the people. It's simple. Usually you don't see this happen, but in this case, that's what it is.
Is the Trump play right now? I don't think it's going to work. I think it's a disaster. I think it's very stupid. I think people on the right are just as interested as people on the left.
It makes me feel stupid personally for like covering, because like there's been a lot of other things that Trump has done, like for example deporting people, like the raids, the fucking getting rid of DEI and everything else, right? Like I've been really supportive of a lot of things Trump has done, but I feel stupid even covering it right now, because of just how much of an elephant in the room this is. You know what I mean? Is that weird for me to say? You suck one. Yeah, but it's a really, really big dick. It's pretty much the biggest one. Can't defend that? Yeah.
Universal issue, as it should be. If there are predators in the highest offices in the land, be they Democrat or Republican, we want to know about it.
That's right, bro. I'm so happy.
The president.
I totally support CoffeeZilla in these videos. Like, give this one a like. I've been watching these every fucking day, and I totally like. I've talked about a lot of this stuff already myself, and so you guys are probably like, as I said, like people are probably tired of hearing about this, but I think that we need to eventually. There will be a breaking point where enough people talking about this will actually cause an effect, right? They will never stop. Yeah, no, I think so. And what would happen to Trump if he had his name and likeness all over from the files and the crimes can even get prosecuted? I have no idea. But the thing is that Biden had these files for 4 years. And, well, maybe not Biden, but the AutoPen and its handlers had these files for 4 years. So I don't think you can say that Trump is doing this out of some sort of unique self-interest of himself, because there have been other people that have been doing the same thing. So, Trump, like Epstein died in like, what, 2019 or something like that, or 2018? And like Biden has been president for the majority of that time. So, and also, by the way, Epstein died while Donald Trump was the president. And also, if he died in 2019, that means that Donald Trump had an entire year while he was in office. And you could say, oh, the deep state was holding him back or whatever. Yeah. Oh, are they doing that now? Right? I mean, come on. Are you really going to fucking believe that at this point? But he had an entire year at the beginning. He was the one at the very beginning that got those files, or whose administration had access to those files. Before Biden at all. Trump just pardoned himself on Truth Social. Well, that's convenient.